Hello everyone, and welcome to a preview video featuring the two new divisions coming to WARNO. The two German divisions, one featuring the Federal Republic's Bundeswehr with the 5th Panzer Division, and the others featuring the Democratic Republic's NVR's 7th Panzer Division. And we will start with the NATO force with the 5th Panzer, and it's also my first time looking over this. And as a disclaimer, this is the alpha build. Some models are not finished yet, some stats are not finished yet, so with the version that will go live to the public, there might be changes. But in general, it's mostly finished, so that's why we are allowed to show you these now. And let's go over these. And as you can see in the logistics tab, we start with a couple of changes to the interface again, as you now choose the veterancy here now, before moving them up to the top, and you can see here how it changes in veterancy. Good change overall. It's less clicks this way. And you have Iltis leader units here, or CV units here. You have M577 CV units that have 3 availability. And then you have 2 forms of supplies, the M113 armored supply carrier and the Unimog normal supply carrier, carrying 500 supply each. So with the availability of the M113, you should always take the M113 versus the Unimog. I guess the Unimog is supposed to carry more supply than this. And obviously something with the availability here is wrong. As I said, it's work in progress. And in the infantry, we now get quite a couple new units. We got the Jaegers, we already know, with the MG3, G33A4, and the Panzerfaust 44. But we also get our first Smg Squad with the Feldjäger, with MP5 A3s. They are 4-man squads, so really small squad. The SMG has 530 meter range. And yeah, I'm not quite sure if these are even worth 20 points. We'll have to see in action. Obviously, our cheap can hold the line, and maybe as a defensive unit, not that bad. With only 4 men, you shouldn't use them offensively, as they will not be able to make to close the gap before being hit. So maybe they should be even 15 points, but we will see how they perform. Then we have another 25 point units, and you can see for 5 points less you get 7 men more. These are Sicherungs troops, which are behind the line defensive units, and like rear guard units, I guess, or holding out on like road junctions and so on. Not supposed to be frontline units. That's why they come with the lowest level of veterancy, with poor experience. So you only get them with that. You get them in Unimogs, and they come with the G3A4, so no LMGs, no SMGs for this squad. That's why they are also really cheap. Would expect them to perform pretty well as a defensive unit or as a like tanky unit on the front line. Should be quite interesting. Then we come to the Pioneer line, leading with the Pioneer Führer. That brings in the Uzi as an SMG, so also an SMG squad. But also has an anti-tank weapon with the Calgo stuff, and obviously is a leader slash command unit. Be able to capture territory, able to boost up the veterans level of the infantry around them. Then we come to the Pioneer, the standard Pioneer, as always, with the satchel charge to blow up enemies. And I would expect the other Pioneers to have the same loadout, just with different weapons, or will we have something different here? No, the Pioneer Flame come with the Handflammenpatrone, which is a flamethrower shotgun. It has 530 range at the moment, so that's quite impressive. We'll see if that stays this way. And they have 10 Uzis, so they're a really aggressive SMG squad. Should be quite interesting. These will be quite good Cqc fighters, I would guess, with the Uzi. And then we have the Pioneer Armbrust, which has the same basic loadout as the normal Pioneers, but gets the Armbrust anti-tank rocket launcher with 66mm instead of the satchel charges. costs the exact same, so you lose a bit of Cqc firepower for Ambrose, but yeah, it's weird. The satchel charge only has 175 meter, but then the flamethrower has 530. So, like, yeah, some of the stats are still weird. And you also get these in your transport, in the Transport Panzer Fuchs, which only costs 10 points at the moment, so that should hopefully also go up to at least 15 to be the same as the Unimog, but also because you get an armored transport here that goes 90 speed kmh, so off the road, and the same speed as the Unimog on the road. So it's the better transport, as it also comes with an MG3. I'm not quite sure where. I guess it's up here mounted. Yeah, but it has a weapon, it has armor, and it's faster off-road, so it should be more expensive. But you will get this as well with all of these. And here you can get the Iltis and the Fuchs. And then we come to the Panzer Grenadiers, which come in the heavier, more heavier armored Marder transports. And they also come with Panzer Grenadier Führer that brings in the Law and the Red Eye. So the first infantry unit that brings both AA and AT, but from both of these brings the worst kind of. But it should be interesting. It's like similar to like... No, we don't even have anything similar in Steel Division or so. Like, yeah, no, this is a really unique unit. I'm not quite sure if units like this exist in Wargame. That's for sure the first in WARNO as well, with such a setup. So that should be quite interesting. 150 points, obviously not that cheap, but it's a leader unit. And yeah, Red Eye is shit, Law is shit, but it can do both. And it's a 6-mil leader unit, so interesting investment. And then you get the Marder 1A2 and the Marder 1A3. And the difference here being that the A2 has 6 frontal armor, the A3 has only 5, but it has more side armor. And why is it more expensive? Why is it so much more expensive? The gun is the same, isn't it? And this one has even some sort of anti-tank weapon model, so I guess this is not fully fleshed out yet with the price and so on. But it should be quite interesting, these kind of weapons. And yeah, the Panzer Grenadiers also will come in the same loadout. Can also take the M113 for the Panzer Grenadiers, just like in Steel Division. Panzer Grenadiers means they're supposed to keep up with the armored columns, so they come in armored transports as well. But the development has come quite a bit since the half-tracks and the SDKFZs 250/1. Now they come in Marders, which look quite cool. I'm not gonna lie, the Marder is a pretty cool looking vehicle. And yeah, we have the Panzer Grenadiers with Carl Gustavs, the 16 penetration AT weapon. We have the Panzer Grenadiers with the Panzerfaust. Those are actually more expensive. Why are they more expensive? Those can only come in M113. And then we have the Panzer Grenadiers with Panzerfaust that can come. So yeah, as you can see, prices are a bit weird. And here we also have access to the Milan. So yeah, so this is the Milan, and the A2 just isn't finished yet. That doesn't have the Milan. And then yeah, you have the A3 with Milan and the A3 without Milan. And obviously the A3 without Milan shouldn't be more expensive than the one with Milan. Milan 2, really strong currently. Stats might also need a slight nerf. 23 penetration is really strong. I mean, the Milan 2 is a good missile, but I'm not quite sure if it's that good. 2,650 meter range, also a really good range. And yeah, the 20mm autocannon is a good weapon as well. And then we have the Jaegers, we already know. Together with the Jägerführer, we already know. So yeah, 3 different kind of Panzer Grenadiers. Or more like 2 kinds, one with Carl Gustav and one with Panzerfausts. And yeah, then quite a lot of different transports for them. 4 different kind of modders. And then a really cool leader. I really like this leader. So, infantry tab, overall quite deep, quite a couple of choices for not that many slots. But that should be really interesting. And now we come to the artillery tab, where Juden said the Germans will bring more than the Americans, so that's why you get more availability here. And also a couple more vehicles, though the towed vehicle artillery pieces are still missing, so there will be more stuff here later on. And we start with the M201 203mm artillery piece that and the M110 that we already know from the Americans. Really big caliber artillery piece with only 8 ammo, so you should always bring a supply truck with these. As yeah, they have a rate of fire of 4 per minute, so after 2 minutes this thing is empty. We have the Panzer Mercer, which comes with a 120mm Mercer. This is not finished yet either, I guess, because this is just an M113 with a 50 cal. Then we have the M109 that we already know. And then we have the LRS and the Mars rocket launchers. And those will be interesting for testing. The Mars is really expensive with 400 points. It's but then the LRS is the cheaper one, only 200 points, but also 110 versus 227mm missiles. And you get 3 of the Mars and only the same amount of the LRS, or even only 4 on the lowest. Once you're on the same weapons, you even get less of the LRS, so it will be interesting which one of these will be better. And how annoying 2 cards of these and 2 cards of these will be in 10v10s. I can't wait to see the German artillery spam in 10v10. In the tank tab, this is what we all waited for, isn't it? At least on the Bundeswehr side. The Leopard 2A3 is here, together with his smaller brother, the Leopard 1, in different kind of forms, and yeah, a really old M48 pattern. And here we go, the Leopard 2A3, 19 penetration, 19 frontal armor, so quite solid in both armor and penetration. Only MG3, only 7.6mm, no 50 cals. Germans not too fond of 50 cals usually, so that's what you got here. And 265 points. Tank prices overall have changed a bit, so this is not 100% comparable to these changes, but they haven't been completely different. As you can see, you can compare them to the Leopard 1, which has 10 frontal armor, 15 penetration, and costs less than half. So yeah, for HE fire support, the Leopard 1 seems to be pretty good. And also, it can kill off all the lighter packed tanks. But if you have to fight T-80s, you should bring in the Leopard 2. Against T-55, that we will get with the GDR later on, with the NVR division. We will see. And then you even get the Leopard 1A1, which is the first generation. And that one only comes with 5 frontal armor. So everything with penetration power deals damage to this thing. And it dies to a lot of one-shots by heavier tank guns. So you really have to be careful. Also to any infantry AT gun, it can die quite quickly. So these have to be really careful. These are a bit more beefy, but you nearly get double the amount of M1A1s. And they have the same gun, so you really have to be careful here. And yeah, the M48, same frontal armor, but even worse penetration, with a 90mm gun, which for 89 standards is pretty underwhelming. Like, this is basically early Cold War, if not even late World War II kind of design. Like in World War II, the 90mm M41 would have been amazing in 1945, but 50 years later nearly, not so much anymore. So these are the tank options, and then you have some ATGM options with the Jaguar and the Jaguar 2. One coming with a TOW 2, and the other one coming with a Hot 1. With 22 penetration and 25 penetration. I would still say though, ATGM vehicles are heavily overpriced currently. And yeah, the Jaguars are not any different to that. I hope Eugen will reduce these prices. Like, these things are supposed to kill tanks, and they're pretty okay at it, but they can't do anything against any light infantry or stuff. And so having them double the price of a Leopard 1 when they also get one-shotted by a Leopard 1, or not quite one-shotted, but die really quickly to tanks as well, I feel like they should be somewhat cheaper. Like maybe 100 points for the TOW 2 vehicles, and then like 80 points or so even here, so like maybe even half the price here. And like currently they're just not really that worthwhile, and I hope Eugen changes that relatively soon. In the Recon tab, we got the Lux Recon tank, 8 wheels, and the 20mm we saw on all the other vehicles now as well, the MK20. Pretty solid, but penetration power really low, actually. Like, really quite low, but should do good damage against infantry. And is a fast vehicle, 108km on the road, 72mm off the road. And then we got Aufklärers that even can come in the U-10 helicopters. The U-1D, actually. Sorry, yeah, not too familiar with Cold War. Why do you not let me click that? Okay, now we can. That has 2 MG3s on each side, but actually has 10 hit points, okay, but no armor. So you have to be somewhat careful. I didn't expect this thing to have 10 hit points. It doesn't look too chunky. Like maybe Eugen will go back to more granular helicopter hit points, and then this thing for sure would go down to 8 or 6 compared to Wargame standard. I'm not too familiar with the War game stats, but I'm pretty sure this wouldn't have 10 there. Jäger Aufklärers that can come in Unimog. The normal Aufklärers having the law. The Jäger Aufklärers bringing in the Panzerfaust. And the same, like we already know them from the 8th Infantry. They bring basically the same stats as Jägers. Are a bit more expensive, but have the better stealth and the better optics. And then we also get some LRRPs with satchel charges. So the first Cqc Recon Infantry. That should be interesting. As you can see, there's some stats here that are not fully fleshed out either. I'm pretty sure they should be in an 11-man squad. That's the plan. Currently we only see 4, but they have 10 MGs, so not quite sure how they will end up. Also, this is some insane amount of protecting them. Like, yeah, this is a lot of green color. This guy looks a bit like he's going to be a Hulk in a second. Yeah, gives you some Bruce Banner vibes. And then the Alouette 2 Recon plane. This one has only 5 hit points. Has very good optics. No weapons whatsoever. And yeah, as you can see, this is a purely recon kind of helicopter. No armament, no protection whatsoever. If you get shot at in this thing, you are in trouble. But you also don't want to get shot in this thing. That's not where you want to bring this. Don't bring it to a fight. Just keep it at a good position to have an eye on the enemy. In the AA tab, we get some new tools as well. First of all, we get the Red Eye, which is still really trash, but at least it's a bit cheaper trash now. Went from 25 to 20 points. So yeah, if you want to have some man pads, these are your only option. So I'm not quite sure if you want to bring them. Then you got the Gepard with the 35mm Ehrlichen guns. And that thing should be quite good. Quite good accuracy. And yeah, solid rate of fire, obviously. So haven't tested anything in the game. It's my first look at all of these divisions as well. But I'm pretty sure this thing will not be too bad. As for 65 points, 35mm Guns should be pretty good. Range, as you can see, also quite decent, both against helicopters and against aircraft. So, yeah. Comparable to the quadruple Soviet 20mm, I would say. And then we got the Marder Roland 2 and the Marder Roland 3. The Roland 2 being the shorter range, but quite a bit cheaper version, with also lower accuracy. No, same accuracy. So both of these are quite similar in everything but damage and range. Rate of fire is a bit higher for the Roland 2 actually, with 10 rounds per minute. But both have only 2 missiles, so you have the reload time is also faster here though for the Roland 2. Okay. With only 2 missiles though before reload, you always want to have at least 2 of these around, because you need to hit with both to kill a plane, and those chances are pretty low. So you always want to buy these things in pairs, because otherwise the enemy plane is out of range before you get a reload. So I wonder how they will perform. 250 seems really, really high for this. This one should go down in price, most likely. And then in the helicopter segment, you get some BO 105PH and the PH-A1. And both of these come with HOTs, the one with the HOT 1, one with the HOT 2 anti-tank missiles. The HOT 2 having 24 penetration versus 22 penetration on the HOT 1. Both pretty capable missiles, but you don't have any anti-ground rockets, you don't have any gun helicopters, so your helicopter tab is really anti-tank purely, or anti-vehicle purely. So you have to be somewhat careful with your helicopter tab. As you can see, also your options here when it comes to slots are rather limited. And then in the air tab we see more Alpha jets. This one with a lot of rockets, and the Mauser 27mm below now is modeled as well. 75 point, 20 ECM, and quite okay in speed. So yeah, 68mm rockets, not the biggest rockets. I wonder how good this thing will be. Then we got the F-109G and IA with Sidewinder missiles and a Vulcan 20mm. F4, we already know, the Phantom. F4F anti-tank with Maverick anti-ground missiles. That's a new loadout as well. 4 of them around, and they are pretty capable. We have them on the A10 already. Now we have them on a faster platform, so that should be quite interesting. The question is, will it be able to fire 2 missiles at a tank before it passes over? If so, then this should be pretty good. And then we have a German design in the Tornado, and that should be quite interesting as well. We have a lot of different loadouts of the Tornado here. We have the Tornado with HE bombs. We have the Tornado with GBU, which I'm okay, some more bombs, unguided bombs. Nearly 1,000 kilogram bombs here. That's the biggest we have yet in the game. So shouldn't GBU stand for guided bombs then? Or should it be, yeah, no, not sure why it says GBU. Because the bomb is named GBU. Okay. It has sidewinders to defend themselves. Both of these have. Mauser 27mm should be quite capable as well. And yeah, these bombs should hit really hard. Tornado with what we already saw in the trailers, with the Metzweg-Waffe, with the cluster bomblets that come out on both sides of this weapon, and that should be quite an interesting tool as well. It looked really, really amazing. Question is, how effective will it be? And then normal clusters, normal cluster bombs in here on the Tornado, and then the A2 with electronic anti-tank missiles. with 26 penetration. That should be quite decent as well. Then an unnamed F-16, isn't it? With anti-radar missiles, so a Seat F-16. And a F-4F with HE bombs. So a lot of choices here. Not the most tabs either, but a lot of interesting choices here. Especially in the tornado segment. And with that, we're finished with the Bundeswehr division. So it's time to switch over to the 7th NVR division. And here we are, the 7th Panzer Division of the NVR, coming in with a couple of choices here as well in the logistics tab. 3 different leader units. You get the Spewagen 4TP, which is a BTR-1, right? 400 points, the cheapest option, together with the BTR-50. Both come with 3 availability. This one is slightly more armored, this one is slightly faster, or quite a bit faster. So you trade speed for armor. Then you get the BMP-1P with the Malyutka missile, 17 penetration. You pay 60 points more for these though, so we'll have to see if you really want to have a leader unit that can fight. Availability is the same once more. And then you get the MTLB supply and the T813 Tatra supply truck, which brings quite a lot of supply per truck. Availability is quite a bit lower though than with the MTLB, but you at least get a bit more than triple the supply, as you also pay triple the price. I'm not quite sure if it's really worth bringing these around though. If you can just have the more safe option of the smaller trucks, where you nearly get the same for 60 points. And you can split these up. When you have 20 lying around, you can buy one. You can split them around on the map. And they also can take at least a bit of damage. So, not quite sure if this is worthwhile. But yeah, maybe Eugen gives them for availability. And then I would say they would be worthwhile. Let's go on to the infantry tab, where we have a bit more limited options compared to the Western Germans. In the NVR brings a bit less in that department. We start with Panzerjägers that at least have 5 different options of transport, 2 forms of BMPs, then the BTR-50, slightly heavier, and then the Spewagen 70, and a truck, EFR V50 LA for the Panzerjägers. It should be quite the interesting unit, as they come with double RPGs. And double RPGs should be quite effective in murdering tanks. So that should be quite good. And you maybe want to have them in fast transport then, so you can get them early on to the front line, or like fast into a position where they can shoot at enemy tanks. Because for 40 points, they are really tank destroyers. Panzervernichter. The Panzerjägers should be an interesting squad as well. Cool design. And yeah, I would say they will perform pretty well on the battlefield as well. Obviously, you don't want to get them into infantry fights, but with 6 men, they're also somewhat tanky at least. They don't die in an instant. At least once time to kill goes up to a bit more normal level again. Then we have the Pioneer Fur, bringing in an RPG as well. RPG VL at the moment. Designation and penetration might change. The 4 AKs, so not the tankiest of squads. So you actually don't really want to have them in RPG range, but if need be, they can defend themselves. They only come in the Spewagen 70 and the MTLB, or a UWATS truck. Then we go over to the Pioneers. 8-man squads for 40 points. They bring the satchel charges, they bring more AK-47s and a PKM, or 74, AK-74s it is by now. And yeah, the BKM LMG. Pioneer Flams with the LPO 50 Flamethrower currently also at 530 meter range, just as the Flamethrower shotgun. So that might be a bit too high. But currently these should be really good CQC units with the Flamethrower. 8-man squad as well. 70 points might be a bit pricey though. We will have to see. But you don't want to run into these with your infantry, that's for sure. That's the 2 CQC infantry options. Then we come to the Mod-Schützen. The motorisierte Schützen. And their leaders come with an RPG 50, are 5 points cheaper than the Pioneer Führer. Other than that, they're identical, so the only thing they get is better transports with the BM1Ps and the BTRs. So you have to decide if you want to have a better RPG and cheaper but lighter transports, or the better transports for only RPG 18. And then we have the 2 forms of Mod-Schützens, one's coming in BTRs, or Speerwagen 70 for the Germans. With, what do they bring again? They bring the RPG as well. They bring 2 RPKs and only 6 AKs, as they're also only an 8-man squad. So the East Germans also have a bit less tankiness per squadron, but they get quite okay numbers on cards on their units. And you get at least 2 LMGs in these, so that should be quite interesting. And then the normal Mod-Schützen are the same when it comes to equipment, just that they come in different transports. Oh no, they are also one man less, sorry. Because I guess in the BMP only 7 men had space, so yeah, they are 7 men, so you pay 5 points less, but you also get 1 man less, so I guess that's fair. Let's move on to artillery. Infantry, as I said, a bit less numerous. We also get the UATS recoilless rifle that we already know from the 39th Soviet Division. But in the artillery tab, you also get some well-known Wardida and Akatsia 152 and 122 millimeters, but also one more Raketenwerfer back on a Tatra truck with 80 missiles, 1 reload, and 2 reloads of 40 missile salvos, and 122mm rockets should also deal some damage. You get 3 cards of them, so you can really spam them if you want to. So that should be quite interesting. Yeah, both German decks get a bit more artillery than their other Pact and NATO counterparts. So that should be quite interesting. But infantry and artillery tab so far not that big. But in the tank tab we will get a bit more. Let's move on. As it is a tank division, and we start with something new for WARNO. Obviously we saw units like this in previous Eugen games, and we have them here as well. Flamin Panzer, Flamethrower tanks are back. And this one comes with a 100mm gun, as it is a T55, and with a Flamethrower next to the gun. And the gun for 100mm seems to be quite good currently. I would expect this to go a bit down to 15 or 14 or so, because 60 penetration for a 100mm gun seems to be pretty good, especially as the tank only costs 50 points. And the Flamethrower also has a really good range, so these things are scary as hell. For 50 points, 6 availability, this thing seems to be pretty good. 7 frontal armor, obviously not great, but for 50 you can spam a lot of them. This is like, you can get 5 of these for 1 Leopard 2. So, yeah. The East Germans, the NVR, with their 7th Panzer Division, really comes with armored spam. And I'm loving it. Like, that's what I hoped for. As someone from Eastern Germany myself, I hoped for the NVR to bring some good stuff, and they bring some good stuff. Like, obviously, quantity-wise, not quality-wise. But T-55s will be quite insane. As the normal T-55 comes for the same price, brings 2 MGs, comes with double the availability of the Flamethrower tank, And same frontal armor, same penetration on the gun. Should be quite good as well. Obviously, accuracy of the gun is atrocious. It comes at 30 stat base with veterancy 37mm, but as I said, you get so many of them that these tanks will be really, really annoying to deal with. You get a better version, the AM2 and the AM2B as well. These have better accuracy, and the AM2B even comes with a Salco anti-tank missile. Costs you 35 points more though, gets 10 more frontal armor, and the better accuracy should be worthwhile. Yeah, these are actually pretty solid medium tanks, if I would put it like that, like medium segment main battle tanks. Obviously all of these are main battle tanks in Cold War standards, but for someone used to Steel Division, I would say these are pretty comparable to a Panzer IV or something. These should be packing quite a punch. The question is, will the 100mm stay at 16 penetration, or at least will the older version maybe get less penetration with like worse rounds or so? Because yeah, all of them being at 16 penetration, first of all, it's quite boring that they're all the same. Second of all, it seems really, really, really strong currently. Yeah, the M2 has the better stats on the guns as well. Better accuracy, has the extra 3 frontal armor up to 10, and has one more MG as well. No, it has the same MG, but costs you 25 points more as well. So we will have to see if this is worthwhile. Then we get the Conquerors that we already know from the Soviet side. This one is now 80 points, so that seems fair. So I wonder why the Leopards are so expensive. I mean, they are not that much better, I would say. But 80 points is still... Yeah, maybe this thing maybe should be 60 points in my eyes. Then we get the T-72s, the best the NVA has to offer. The T-72s, though the best of those is the GM1 that we get over here. And these are not finished in their modules yet. The stats are though. The GM1 brings 14 frontal armor, and whilst the GM1 only brings 11. And also, what else is the difference? Is there any other difference? Side armor also improves. When it comes to base stats, I think they're similar as well. No, this one has slightly better accuracy as well. But and it has normal optics versus only mediocre optics. So yeah, those are the changes between these two. As I said, model is not quite finished yet. GM1, the normal GM, also has normal optics, has a bit less frontal armor, and a bit no, it has the same 50 accuracy. This one has 45 accuracy. So yeah, these ones are pretty much the same, but you pay a bit extra for a bit more frontal armor. They come in a leader version as well. So yeah, a lot of tank options here for the Eastern Germans as well. And I would say T-55 spam, if it stays at this version, will be really, really annoying. You get quite a lot of them. The cheap version you only get one card, but even the not so cheap, the slightly more expensive version you can still spam 75 points with 260 points per minute. You get 5 of these, and you get still 3 of these. So tank spam will be real. And then if you want a bit more firepower, the T-72 got you covered as well. Bit more armor, bit more firepower, so should be quite a well-rounded deck overall. Not quite T-80 level, not quite Leopard level, so you don't have the creme de la creme, but you have some good higher end equipment, and you just have the man spam on the lower end. Let's move on to Recon, where you get the BRDM-2 Recon vehicle, and then you get the Aufklärer in heavy mode, which is 7-man squad, and the normal Aufklärer, which are 4-man squad that come in UATs. The Aufklärer heavy come in BMPs, and also in the Mi-8T with rockets. with 64 rockets, 32 on each side. So they should be quite solid. And then you get the Spezialaufklärer, which have very good optics. Also come in the ME8T. And they have the RPG-22 instead of the RPG-18. So they have a bit more penetration power on their equipment. So they should be quite solid 9-man squad as well. Double LMG. So they have quite some firepower there as well. Unlike the normal ones, which only come with one RPK. There you get 2 LMGs here, 2 RPKs. And then you got your BRM-1 with the 73mm gun. That is your standard exceptional optics recon vehicle that you already know from the Soviet decks. So, quite an okay recon tab as well. 3 solid choices of recon infantry. Though maybe the Aufklärer Heavy is a bit like, yeah, the Spezialaufklärer, I would say, is worthwhile bringing over the Aufklärer Heavy in its current form. In the AA tab, we get a new manpad with the Strela 2, which is also as atrocious as the Red Eye. It has only 3 damage. It has a rate of fire of 3 per minute, so you really need to spam these out. Accuracy also at 30 base, 37 as you get them with free veterancy at least. But overall, really shit manpad. So you might want to stick with Shulkas. At least you get these here for 50 points, 33mm. Solid accuracy, solid ranges. Or the Cup, which is not amazing either, but hey, they are at least long range AA, 4500 meter, we already know them. Or the Strela 10, which is your best option against helicopters, I would guess. Out of these. Yeah, the Strela also not the most amazing ranges, like same ranges as the American ones, not as the Eagles. So yeah, it's akin to the Stinger, but just as dealing damage. So yeah, just as shitty as the Red Eye. So I'm not quite sure if they are actually worthwhile bringing. Needing 4 hits on a heavy helicopter to shoot them down, or 4 hits on a plane to shoot them down. Sounds quite painful. And then we go to the helicopter tab, where we got some options at more than the Bundeswehr division, more than the 5th Panzer Division. But you also only get 2 slots, at least they're slightly cheaper. But you get 2 rocket versions of the ME8. One with 57mm rockets in 32 round pods, and one with 57mm in 64 missile pods, or rocket pods. So yeah, either less firepower or more firepower, but you exactly pay double the price for the double firepower. So yeah, you will have to decide if that's worthwhile for you. And then you get the Me-24 with the Phalang, and as the first AT version. Phalanga P with only 16 penetration, so not the most effective, but it's a pretty cheap helicopter. But for only 5 points more, you get the Cqc. And I would say, for only 5 points difference, you should always take the Cqc. Like, the 3 extra penetrations go a long way here. And you carry the same amount. You have better accuracy, like, everything speaks for the Cqc. And you also get the bigger missiles, rockets. So, yeah, not sure why you ever should choose this one. Especially as this also gets a 30mm gun up in the front. So, yeah. Sorry, but this is not really an option, as it's not like you run out of cards. Like, you can take 2 of these, so yep. Take these, I would say. And then in the air tab, we got a new plane as well. The MiG-21. Which is a pretty old plane for the time. But hey, choice is choice. And you get them as a bomber or as a rocket pod version with pretty big rockets actually, like some small ones on the side as well, some 57s, but also some 122 millimeter rockets, so they might deal some damage here. The HE bombs only 250 kilogram bombs, but it's a really cheap plane, and you get really good availability. And taps are pretty good as well, so you can have some air spam here with this pack division, I would say. Then you get the MiG-21 with air-to-air missiles. Those air-to-air missiles not being super amazing with the R60M. But for 85 points, that's also the cheapest fighter we got so far. This cheapest air superiority fighter, so that should be quite interesting. And then you get MiG-23s with HE, MiG-23s with AT missiles, with the KH-29, which we already know, one of the best missiles in the game, 30 penetration, one-shots quite a lot of tanks, and deals a lot of damage to the rest. And then a heck of a lot of Su-22 versions, just as the Tornado for the 5th Panzer. You get here a lot of versions of the Su-22. You get them with HE bombs, with cluster bombs, with napalm bombs, and then you get them with ATGMs and with SEAT. So yeah, your Su-22 is your workhorse here, I would say. Overall, obviously not the most amazing planes for the time period, but they're all quite capable, and or at least spammable in the form of the MiG-21. So it will be interesting if, with the amount of tabs you can bring, you could really air spam here. Like, you get 6 cards even if you only go up to the 3-point slot. 4-point slots always are really pricey, so wouldn't recommend going up there, but if you really want to have that the 7th card, you can go up there as well. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this overview over the 2 new divisions. And let me know what you think. Which one is your favorite? Which one is your favorite unit to come? For me, it's for sure the T-55 spam. Not gonna lie, this is what I waited for, this is what I hoped for, and I'm kind of getting it. Yeah. I will also make some streams on Twitch featuring these in action, and obviously also will make a YouTube video, but yeah. If you see it at launch on YouTube, you might as well jump right over to Twitch, as I will play them there at the moment. With that said, if you don't want to miss out on any future videos, consider following down below, and till then, see you in the next one.